Being a recluse and hiding away from the world whilst on a weight loss journey teaches you nothing, and it doesn't set you up for long-term success. Welcome to our podcast, Fuck the Diet Cycle, with myself, Lauren Knight, and Abby Lodge. This podcast is for you if you're ready to end the diet cycle. So grab yourself a cuppa, get comfy, and let's jump straight into this week's episode. Oh no, I have been invited out to a meal, but I'm on a weight loss journey. I couldn't possibly turn up. Fuck that. Life has got to go on.
Yeah, and why do people, I mean, I was the same. I actually wanted to shut my life off, but actually think that you have to put yourself away in this box on a weight loss journey to lose weight. No, that's not real life. Like, life actually goes on, and it goes back to like lockdown. If you think about lockdown, so many people in lockdown, yes, there were people that came out, they had gained an unhealthy amount of weight. You know, if you look at, you've only got to look at the statistics. Abby can't put her teeth in. But there are so many people in lockdown that absolutely fucking flew with their weight loss journeys. You know, that there was Joe Wicks on the bloody TV every day doing his whatever he does and all that kind of stuff. But that's because we wasn't physically allowed to go out for more than an hour or 10 minutes or whatever Boris bloody said. So you were able to stick to these things, get to where you wanted to be, because that wasn't normal for us. But then as soon as lockdown restrictions were lifted, oh shit, we're thrown back into life. You don't know how to handle it. So when you are on a weight loss journey and you do get invited out to a meal or a party or I don't know, whatever, go. You have to go. If you don't start going from the beginning, you're never going to learn. That's where all of the learning happens, because that is, you know, some people are really sociable people. I'd love to be one of them people, but I'm just not. But they go out a lot, they socialize with work, you know, all these things. Go and do it. You have to learn, because just because you've lost weight doesn't mean you're cured. And then you go to these like going out and stuff and you've learnt nothing. So taking it like when you're on your journey, when you've got the support of somebody else guiding you who's been through it, to be like, right, okay, you might be going here for a meal or whatever. Let's have a look at the menu. Let's have a look at some good choices, and actually going with a plan in place and not kind of going and being like a deer in headlights. Fuck it, I'm going to have the chips because I know I like that. And then feeling guilty afterwards. You can go to these meals, you can go to these events and make better choices. You know, if when it comes to like alcohol, if you're having like mixers, diet mixers, things like that, rather than the full fat, they're all making these changes for that lifestyle change. We're ditching the diet. Fuck the diet. You know, this is a lifestyle change. If you want to successfully maintain your weight forevermore and not be on this bloody cycle constantly on and on and on, you need to learn to change that lifestyle and adapt.
Yeah, absolutely. And let's go back to lockdown, because that was obviously, it impacted a lot of people, but not only did those people do well with their weight loss because they were recluses, they didn't have anything else, they were fully focused on that because they didn't have anything else to look at. But then good old Boris chucked us in with the eat out to help out. Do you remember?
Oh, yeah.
Right? So these people have gone from restrict. I can bring my calories right down. I'm not really doing any exercise. I'm not doing much. So therefore, I can lower my calories pretty low. I'm not socializing. I don't have anything that's going to impact me. So I'm like blinkers on, easy weight loss. And people did amazing. And also they had that scare that came out that being overweight and gaining weight could make you more susceptible to having complications if you were to contract COVID, right? So many people were motivated by that. So then to be chucked into the deep end of eat out to help out, people are like, wait, yeah, I can get cheap food, go out and socialize, because people missed out on seeing their loved ones and they wanted to meet up with their friends and all of that. So they did that, and rightly so that they went out and socialized, because let's face it, we need to interact as human beings, right? But what they didn't have then was balance or control, because they hadn't learnt that part. They've gone from nothing to everything. and they were consuming free meals because they were getting it for cheap. They had all different groups of families and friends to go out, so they're going out multiple times in the week. They had all of this money that they could spend if they were lucky enough to get the vouchers, and they were consuming this food because they hadn't been able to get hold of it for so long, and it was a bit like a free-for-all. So nobody learned anything. And the point that we are sharing here is you cannot live like that. That moment in time was not normal. Being a recluse, being on your own, not socializing, for most people isn't what life looks like. So if we were to do that whilst on our weight loss journey, we can pretty much guarantee that you are going to go back to stage one. So if you are a social butterfly, you need to continue being a social butterfly. Now, that doesn't mean that every single meal out or every single event you lose control, but you learn how to find that balance, because once you've found that balance, guess what? Your social life can continue to go on and you won't be gaining anymore, but you'll be leading that diet free life in that food freedom world where you go, oh my God, I didn't even know that I could go out and be social and not continuously gain weight.
Yeah, but so many people think that if you are sociable, that you have to gain weight or you have to have like the most overindulgent meals. And let's face it, like there are going to be like social events that you are really, you know, for example, if you're going for a meal at the Ritz, let's just really blow it out here. Or then the next day you're at, I don't know, Pizza Express. You need to make the choice of what meal or what event actually means more to me to like enjoy that food. So obviously if you're at the Ritz, you're gonna want to fucking enjoy your food because you're paying enough for it, but make it actually being able to balance those kind of social events of that means more to me, that doesn't really do anything for me. Or, you know, it might be a birthday party and you don't like cake, well, don't have to eat the bloody cake then, you know, if you don't want to. But finding that balance of what really does mean more to you, because then going forwards, you know, when you're off this weight loss journey and you're maintaining, those things are going to come up again, and then you'll be like, right, I know what I'm doing now, rather than the blind leading the blind. And every single time you go out, you have to eat copious amounts of food. You have to have 3 courses at every restaurant that you go to. You have to have dessert or whatever because you're out. Like, it doesn't need to be like that at all. Like when I think about a few weeks ago, me and you went out, like we went to lovely Turkish, it's Turkish, isn't it? Yeah, it's Turkish. And we were chatting about what we was going to have beforehand. Like, I know that I really, really, really fucking like hummus. So I wanted to have hummus, but then I wasn't sure of my main, and I didn't want to have hummus twice. So then we was like discussing, I had the salmon in the end. Did I eat it all? No. Why didn't I eat it all? Well, because I was full and I was satisfied. And just because I was out doesn't mean I have to then finish my plate. You know, if it really means that much to you, like about wasting money and things, ask restaurants to box up your leftovers. Most places are more than happy to box up for you to take home to the kids or whatever. Just because you're out doesn't mean you have to eat everything inside.
And that goes for holidays as well. So I've had clients that, especially because most of my clients are mums, when they go on holiday, they go all inclusive because it's cheaper to go all inclusive when you've got small children with ice creams or whatever. And it always scares them. They're like, oh my God, I'm going all inclusive. I'm going to come back so much heavier, because that is what has always happened. Now, what we do is we talk that through with clients. And I've had so many clients successfully come back from an all-inclusive holiday, be it 7 days, 10 days, or 2 weeks, and either have a maintain or even a loss. Never have I had anyone come back with a big gain. And the reason for that is we put things in place where they understand what balance looks like on a day-to-day basis. So for example, 9 times out of 10, breakfast and lunch aren't really like important in terms of the social aspect, whereas dinner, you kind of view dinner as a family event, you're getting together. So the way that I get around it with my with my clients is by saying to them, breakfast and lunch needs to be more balanced and controlled, so that in the evening, when it comes to your dinner, you're able to have that little bit more of a free reign. Now, what that looks like is having something like poached egg for breakfast, or having fruit and yogurt and a little bit of granola for breakfast, and then having a salad for lunch with protein again, because we want to avoid those snacks at the pool bar, which is always chips and a burger or stuff like that. And then in the evening, that means you've got more of a free choice on what you're having. But even though it's a buffet, I only want you to have one plate. And they're like, oh my God, how am I going to do that? You do not pick up that plate until you have walked around that, what do you call it? A court, food court, whatever. Go and see what's on offer. Then go and pick up your plate and only go to the dishes that you're going to put. Because if you start at the beginning with your plate, you're going to, oh, fancy that. I fancy that. I fancy that. Before you know it, your plate's 10 foot high. You're literally walking so slow, one foot in the other to try and get to your table because it's about to collapse. And you eat all that food, and afterwards you feel totally stuffed and you regret it. Whereas if you just put on that plate the food that you go, actually, that's what I really want, you go and enjoy it, and you walk away feeling comfortable, and there is no guilt attached. Life has to go on. We just need to learn how to balance it so that you can still enjoy food, you can still enjoy socializing without gaining weight.
Yeah, absolutely. And the same applies on an all-inclusive with the ice cream. The ice cream opens at like, what, 10 a.m. and it closes at like 5 p.m. Like, just because it opens at 10 a.m. and yes, I know my kids, as soon as it fucking opens, they're like, want ice cream, and it's like distracting them till, you know, don't eat ice cream for breakfast. But when we went to Turkey last year, when it opened, James went up naturally. You having an ice cream? No. Why are you not having ice cream? I don't fancy an ice cream, James. I don't want an ice cream. But it's open and it's free. You know, this.
We're paid for it.
And I'm like, that's all well and good. You enjoy your ice cream here. You really want that ice cream? Don't fucking enjoy it. I don't want an ice cream, and I don't need to have an ice cream because it's open now. I don't need to have an ice cream because we've paid for it. And I don't need to have an ice cream because I'm on holiday. I will choose when I want to have that ice cream, when I know that I'm going to enjoy it. Because, yes, okay, if he had bought me back an ice cream and I'd have eaten it, I would have eaten it, whatever, and then I'd have felt guilty, I'd have felt sick, whatever. That's not going to make me feel good. But I did have an ice cream on that holiday. I had a couple of ice creams, but only when I knew that I was actually going to enjoy it and I actually fancied it. Because you don't, just because it's there, I mean, it's like a play on senses thing, like especially all inclusives, like go to the bar, there's like burgers and stuff, you see it, you smell it, you want it. You have to learn how to get that balance, and that is what we teach all of our clients, is that you can go on these holidays, you can enjoy these holidays, and you can have the ice cream if you want it. Doesn't mean you have to have it. It's not a rite of passage just because it's all inclusive. That means that you've got to graze throughout the day. Like, doesn't work like that.
Exactly that. And understanding how to plan. So if you're going to take anything from this episode of the podcast, it's we want you to be social. We want you to continue being that version of you that you are, and you need to align with that and accept that. But what you really need to understand is you cannot have it all. It's as simple as that. You just can't have it all. So planning ahead, and this is why we stress week in, week out, use a Sunday particularly to look at what your following week looks like, whether that means that you've got work meetings, you need to take clients out, you've got an event, you've got a party, you're going on holiday, whatever it is, sit there and put that in your diary, and then prioritize, right, that day that's out of my control. So how can I balance the rest of my week so that I can overindulge a little bit there without it having a negative impact on me? Because if you go in blind and you are not planning ahead, chances are you're going to bury your head in the sand and you're going to be an ostrich, as Abby says, which I still don't get, but go and look that one up. And it's all going to go to shit. And you're going to be messaging us going, yeah, that week was a write-off because it kind of one thing led to another. I didn't really know whether I was coming or going. And so I just didn't deal with it. Whereas if you know what's coming, that you can lower your chances of it hitting the fan and allowing yourself to enjoy these events without feeling overwhelmed, without feeling guilty, without gaining weight, and knowing, actually, do you know what? Life does go on. I don't have to become a recluse. I don't have to pretend I'm in lockdown anymore.
Yeah, absolutely. Plan, guys. Do not be an ostrich. Do not bury your head in the sand like an ostrich is what that means.
Thank you for listening. Be sure to follow us on social media using the links below. And don't forget, new episodes come out every single Sunday.